Hey, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Alice.
Hey now.
Greg, what are you doing here?
Hey, what do you mean? Allison,
Where'd you come from, Greg?
I came from the world of Childish, and I just want to make sure that your listeners know that you're just as wonderful on the other podcast you do.
What if they don't have kids?
Don't need them. You don't need them. A lot of our listeners actually tell us they don't have kids. We talk about sex.
We talk about all sorts of dirty stuff, but also parenting stuff.
Yeah, so.
Check out Childish. New episodes every Wednesday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Maybe I should have got it fixed. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison's your new best friend.
Hey, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm very, very excited to be talking to my guest, who I will bring in shortly. But first, I must talk to Tony Thaxton and catch up on stuff that may have happened since last time we talked. I don't know. Tony, for me, a lot of stuff has happened.
Yeah. Hello, first of all.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I hope good things. I feel like a lot of things have happened sort of for me, but not necessarily, not like things. I've just done a lot. You know what I mean?
I'm interested in the distinction between a thing versus a thing you've done.
Well, I just mean like not necessarily anything all that newsworthy.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't
invent
get
something.
into anything. Yeah, nothing crazy like that. Just went out a few times, saw lots of friends, saw the most people I've seen at once in a very long time yesterday.
Yes, you posted a photo of your adorable dog Bentley looking all pooped out, and you said that it was tiring for him. Yeah.
It was tiring for both of us. Like I had big plans of going out then last night because I was out in the afternoon, and then I just got home and I was like, no, I can't. I'm gonna keep easing my way back into normal life because it's suddenly exhausting.
That's what I was
all I want to do.
That's what I was going to say. I think we can't overestimate or underestimate. We need to accurately estimate how weird it is to re-enter society. It's weird, which brings me to... Actually, I'm going to start with the less exciting thing. Tony, we talked about the millipedes in my bathroom. And when we had Bean from Kevin and Bean on the show, he let me know that he had millipedes as pets when he was young, and he doesn't see why I can't just gently lift them up and just carry them outside. And I felt shamed. I felt like a monster. I felt bad that I was thinking of massacring them via exterminator. So I did carry one outside, and then don't tell Bean, but I did have the exterminator come. And then since then, I have continued to carry them outside because they're still here. So, and also, you know what's here now too? Just an array of silverfish. I feel like, did the exterminator spray silverfish? I don't know what they did, but I've seen not one deceased insect. I've just seen more insects, but I want Bean and my millipede listeners, millipede sympathetic, and also millipede. If any millipedes are listening, my bathroom is the perimeter of the house is not a safe space, but the bathroom is a safe space. I now lift them up on a piece of toilet paper and I carry them outside, and I think, I hope Bean is happy.
Yeah, you're nicer than me. I think I don't know that I would go through all that. Although let me propose.
Have you been shamed by Bean? I think you would.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're carrying them outside and then you're still seeing them in the bathroom, let me propose. You put them in like some sort of box or something, and then like drive across town with it, and then release it there and see if they come back.
I have wondered: did I carry two outside, or did I carry one who's persistent? And came back.
Like I don't. The same ones.
I don't know the name. Okay, and then the other thing. Remember, I told you Mary Lynn Rice Cub invited me to coffee or a walk. It was my big like, oh my god, I'm actually going to become friends with her. It wasn't just a bit on the show. Mm-hmm. We had our coffee date. Now, Daniel told me he doesn't think I should talk about it on the show because he thinks it comes off as thirsty. And I don't disagree, but look, the way this works is you befriend me, you befriend all of us. So I must bring the listeners along and let them know that it's really happened. We got coffee. We sat outside. I went inside to put cream in my coffee. I forgot to put my mask on. They instantly were like, "Do you have a mask?" And then I felt weird and bad, and I wanted them to know I believe in masks. I just forgot, but also I'm vaccinated. I'm not an anti-masker. But anyway, I feel like we might become real friends. And thirsty or not, it's happening.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
As we said, it's not easy to make friends as an adult. So I understand.
It's my second friend in like 4 years.
There you go.
Possibly fewer in more. I don't know. And you went to a birthday party and it was exhausting.
Yes, actually, I just in my head added the word birthday in the email because I got there. It was our past guest and friend Jeff Dutton, and I got there and I'm like, "Hey, happy birthday!" And he's like, "It's not my birthday." It's like, "Oh, did I just add that word in the?" Apparently, I did.
Yeah, because here's why. Because otherwise, why is everyone getting together to hang out in a park?
I think
you need a reason.
I think right now that reason is we're vaccinated. Let's do something.
I get that, but still, I feel like it makes sense that it would be a birthday.
Yeah.
Interesting. So a non-birthday hang.
Yeah. It was nice, though. It was, while exhausting, I had a real nice time.
Good.
So my friend Tim Kalpakis was there.
I love our friend Tim Kalpakis.
Yeah.
But I think Tim Kalpakis' wife is in Hawaii. Is that happening?
Oh, I don't know. She was not with him. I can confirm she was not there. But
I bet, because I think she might be in Hawaii. This is based just on her social media, though. It's neither here nor there. I think it is time for us to get to the main event, the reason we're all here. Very excited to welcome back to the show comedian, actor, writer, producer, host of the very popular Netflix show, The Wedding Coach. She also wrote a book called Ridiculous. She played Allie on Crashing and was a writer on Crashing. And also, she's a writer for Ted Lasso. It is returning to the show. This is now her third appearance, Jamie Lee.
Ooh. Oh my goodness. Great to be back.
Welcome
So happy
back.
to see you guys. Yeah, this is so fun.
Good to see you too. The last time you were on, so you were on in 2012 and then maybe 2018 or 19.
That feels right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were marveling at how long it had been. So I'm glad that we've like narrowed the gaps here.
Me too.
But you were in development for The Wedding Coach. And you couldn't
was
even,
I?
you couldn't even say, you had cast the couples. You were talking about that.
Oh, uh-huh.
You were talking about how it's the same casting people as Queer Eye, and that made you feel good because you didn't want it to be like a crazy reality show.
Yes, that's true.
You couldn't say where it was going to be airing, but you said it was a streaming service.
Oh, that's right. I remember this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to be like very cagey, and there are not that many streaming services. At least at that time, there were like even less. So yeah, I'm sure people sort of deduced what I was talking about.
But look, here we are now, and it exists. It is on our televisions. People are watching it. People are loving it. How's it feel?
It feels great. I mean, it's a little surreal because this show in particular, like we filmed it before the pandemic, and it really was a hard production, just logistically. You know, we had to cast the different couples, and also I had never made a reality show before, and that in and of itself is like just a really sort of bizarre thing to be a part of and like watch come together in some really great ways. Like, I come from a scripted television background, and like you really can't script reality. Like you can try to like beat out how something is going to go and like come up with some kind of loose outline, but like so many things come up in the moment that change the course of like everything you thought the episode was going to look like. And I think it was a really good lesson for me in terms of like just relinquishing control, because I think in scripted you have a lot of control, and then like in reality you have kind of none. And so for me, I was like flipping out the whole fucking time we were making it, like truly just like losing my mind, because I didn't understand that like this is sort of an organic thing that just does come together in editing. You just have to like have some patience and some faith. And so yeah, this is just a very long-winded way of saying that the fact that it's out on Netflix now, I'm like, I cannot believe it. Like, it finally happened, because it was delayed and delayed. They didn't want to post it to Netflix because they were like, yeah, no one's watching wedding stuff during the pandemic. Everyone's like sad about weddings because they're getting canceled. So yeah, it was actually, our original air date was supposed to be in November during like election time, and I'm very grateful that didn't happen, because I feel like that was just like a quite tense time in history. So it's nice to like not be associated with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's explain it for people who might not be familiar. But if you're not
Totally.
familiar, go check it out, because it is very, it's funny and it's very watchable. Like it's so well done. You can like, you'll sit down and then you'll like 6 episodes, which the whole season just went by. It's very,
Yeah,
it's
it
like
flies. It
it's a
does fly.
confection. And I mean that as a compliment.
It's brain candy. No. I totally agree. And I think everyone has such short attention spans these days. Like it's nice to make something where you're like, I promise, like you can handle it. Like whatever is going on in your life, you can fit this in. Like it takes up no brain space.
Right. It's very feel good and heartwarming. But so anyway, you meet with couples who are in the process of planning their weddings, and you kind of help guide them to through the planning, and then sort of help with any issues that come up, and issues always come up. And then you're there at the wedding, and then you have a helper with you, be it an actor or a comedian. And yeah, that's the show.
That is the show. Yeah. I kind of went in, when I pitched it, I was like, oh, I kind of want it to be like Queer Eye, but for weddings, with definitely like more of a blatant comedy bent to it, because most of my plus ones, as we call them on the show, are comedians. But yeah, I think that comedians are actually like a really good group of people to send into a wedding, because we're so opinionated, and I think we have like a heightened ability with observation to a degree. And I think that's like the kind of people you need to surround yourself with when you're going through something as emotional or stressful as wedding planning. I think it's just like nice to have people who have like eyes in like the backs of their heads and sides of their heads. And like, we're just always like looking for things to pick apart. And it's like kind of refreshing to have that person around you when you feel like you can't really be that person, because you're supposed to just be like enjoying it, best time of your life. Like, you know, it's nice to have someone who's like, okay, come on, but like, let's cut the shit.
Right. I famously, to some people, my family at least, I did not have. If you had attended I had a very small wedding. If you had the people who attended the wedding had, not that anyone ever like bitches about a wedding, but they were like, oh my God, that was like the most beautiful, you know, really
No,
sweet.
people do bitch about weddings. That sounds, I bet it was special. Yeah, Small's amazing. Small's awesome.
It was really sweet and beautiful and meaningful, and my husband had the best time, and I love him so much, and I'm so glad I'm married to him. The way it all felt for me emotionally, not the like actual vows part, but the leading up to it, and family stuff and drama and stuff with the vendors, and like I had a very unpleasant experience.
Sure.
It was
As
very
do most.
I cried quite a bit after.
Same.
Really?
Same.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better to hear.
In the lead up and after, for sure. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. One of the honestly, if I'm being completely transparent,
Please do.
like, one of the worst times in my life.
Oh my God, that makes me feel 1,000 times better,
Yeah.
because I feel ungrateful
I know.
and like some kind of princess
No,
that
like,
I'm
there's no-
still writing letters in my head to our wedding planner, letting her know things that I'm upset about that I never told her.
Oh no, you're not alone there. That's very, very common. I have a friend who, when she when her wedding ended, she didn't really talk to me or any of her bridesmaids. Yeah, so like no one could get a hold of her. And yeah, she just really like sunk into a full-on depression because she felt like her wedding planner sort of let her down, and she had spent all this money, and she had a really beautiful, like proper New York City wedding. So a ton of money went into it. So much attention to detail. She is such a like natural party planner type. So she had such a clear vision for what she was going for. And so I do think her expectations were really high. And I think she was setting herself up to fail to a degree. But like the fact that she just kind of stopped talking to people in her life because of her wedding, like that shit is real.
So why then do we do it? I'm kind of left with that question. Like,
I know what you mean.
Because on the other side of it, I never heard anyone say anything negative about weddings before the actual wedding. But on the other side of it, I've heard from other people of like, yeah, there was lots of things that upset me about mine. Like, why do we do this to ourselves?
Well, you're kind of stuck in a bad spot because I've played out both instances. I'm like, okay, let's say we don't like do all the things, whatever that means. Decorations, dealing with vendors, planner, lots of guests, whatever that means for you. Like, let's say you like strip it all away. Well, then even when you're stripping it away, planning goes into properly stripping something away.
Yeah.
So like you're kind of stuck in this place where you're like, I could plan a lot for a small thing, or I could plan for a thing that accommodates like more people in my life, and then everyone's together, and then it kind of takes on this like family reunion vibe, which sounds really great because then you kind of get like a 2-for-1. Like you see everybody and you get married. Like it's just there's really no great option, and I think that that's what's tough. And unless you properly go to Vegas and like do the like Elvis thing, which there's probably shit you have to deal with there. Who even knows? Maybe that books up years in advance, and it's a pain in the ass to like get a spot there. I don't know.
Because we kept ours so small, I think a lot of people's feelings were hurt. And that's something that's like, it's like I've got like the rings of regret. And that's like the second ring of regret is like, oh, was it worth it? No. Like we should have, whatever. Getting into the weeds of that.
Hard.
But now why were you depressed after your wedding?
Well, I don't think I was depressed immediately after, but I think that some of the wounds sort of have like carried on with me in ways that I just didn't expect. Like I kind of thought that I think the narrative was always, well, you're going to deal with a lot of turmoil in the lead up, but then after the day comes, everything melts away and you won't even think about it. And that's not really true. I think for me, it was more like, oh, wow, I'm kind of blindsided by these like pops of resentment that I just was told wouldn't happen. And I'm like, but they did happen. So yeah, I think that it wasn't so much a full-on depression as it was just like, oh yeah, like I was lied to. Like that's actually not true. You do hang on to things that happened during your wedding process.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, why was I depressed after? I was hurt by the way I was treated by some of my family.
Sure.
And I didn't realize how much I had placed humongous expectations on them. And we had like a best man and a maid of honor, but we didn't have a bridal party because it was so small. And because I don't know if other people, I mean, actually the very top of the show, I was talking about making a new friend. Something about getting married in my late 30s, I just felt like I don't know who my quote unquote girls are that I would choose.
Sure, of course.
I feel disconnected from people, from friends in a way.
Sure.
And so I had, a couple of my closest friends there, but I don't know, something about doing it became
I know what you mean.
another factor to figure out who do we include in this wedding party.
You also have to like rank your people and be like, do they see me the way I see them? Are they as close to me as it's like, it just is so uncomfortable. All of that is so uncomfortable. Even when you're a bride in your 20s, it's like, oh man, here we go. I have to come up with like a hierarchy of who I care about the most. Like, it's just so gross.
So I ended up feeling very lonely getting ready and lonely. I was like dealing with some family drama and I didn't feel like I had support. And I know that my sister hearing this would be very hurt because she was trying her best, but it's like, I mean, it's complicated, but I just felt very hurt and alone. And then to walk down the aisle with all that kind of churning was just tough. And I think afterwards, it's just sort of like my feelings were just hurt.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, but my feelings were hurt, but I also I feel like this is out of proportion to what happened. So why can I not let this go? And I felt like in that regard, I felt like a disappointment to my husband because he had a great day and it was very special to him.
I mean, of course, but that's not surprising to me.
And so here he is like, this is supposed to be the time of our lives and you're just crying all the time. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. So
I very much relate to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really tough.
But was any of this triggering? So anyway, given all my wedding stuff, Daniel was marveling at my ability to watch this show and not be triggered because I kind of avoid wedding content. But I was like, I think I'm past. Either I'm past it or this show is just so well done that I really wasn't triggered at all. Were you triggered at all
in making it?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, truly, constantly. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I also think that the hard spot that I was in was in my heart of hearts, like when because I've dealt with 6 very different types of weddings, people who were in different situations, different cultural backgrounds. Like it was pretty diverse, like emotionally, physically, like it was just everyone's experience was just very different. And the one commonality was that at every wedding that I had to help with, I did have this feeling of like, why are we doing this? Why are they doing this? Why is anyone doing this? It's not that I'm anti-commitment. I'm not anti-marriage. I just was like, there's something so flawed here that I'm feeling this way at every single wedding. I'm like,
so interesting.
And it's so hard when you're there trying to be supportive. This is a really important time to them. They've spent so much money. Like, I really just wanted to be like, what can I do for you? But in the back of my mind, I wanted to give the advice of like maybe you shouldn't do it. Like don't go through this save your relationship. Don't. And we did have one couple who ended up not getting married, but I wanted to give that advice for kind of my anti-wedding advice, but then I'm like, well, Jamie, you're making a fucking wedding show. Like, so it's this weird thing where I was trying to be as diplomatic as possible, but also be honest and candid and say the things no one's going to say. But also you can't say so much that you're like scaring the people you're trying to help, Right. And I think that was hard for me is like, what is that line between making sure you're authentic and like making sure that you're helping these people in a real way, but also like not weighing in so hard that it becomes about you.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's like, I think about this though. I think if someone had said to me, you know what, just elope, you'll be happier. I was already so emotionally and financially invested. I would have been like, no, I have to have this experience for myself to realize that. I wouldn't have believed them.
Same. My mom at one point was like, what are you doing this for? Like, who is this for? Or do you even want to do this? And I was like, yes, I do. Really just like what you're saying. I was like, I have to go through this. Like at this point, the train has left the station and I am on that train and I can't get off for many, many, many stops.
What you were saying earlier about the difference between reality and scripted and how you just kind of had to like, you were freaking out the whole time, but you had to just let things happen. A moment that I think is so funny, the episode with John Gabris.
Love that episode.
Wait, is it the John Gabris one? I think it is. Okay. But at the very end of it, when you're like, no, I'm the only one who talks to camera.
I was like, stop it. No one, stop talking to camera. Yeah, we were so drunk at that wedding. It was crazy. So much drinking happening and making reality TV. It's like people literally are coming up to you, giving you drinks at all times.
So I'm curious. I'm curious about the actual process from finding the people who want to have their wedding filmed to like, were they actually interviewed in their own homes? Because they all live in sparse, stylish homes. And then like, what are the actual weddings like with a crew there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, the interviews happen, the one where they're just talking to camera, that happens without me. Like, we have a producer who just gets all the information out of them. And then I on separate days go in and actually like help them with planning and emotional support and all those things. The camera crew at the weddings was probably the hardest part. Actually, not the weddings, but in the bridal suite. That was really tough because these brides are like getting ready. There's a lot of chaos. Yeah. Everyone's cross-talking. Bridesmaids are like, oh, where's my shoe? Like, it's just like constant craziness. So I think that was the hardest part is like, there were a couple of moments in filming where I felt like I was in the way. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is not helpful. Like, this, I need to be here because we're making a TV show, but like, this is tough. Like, these people are actually getting ready for their wedding. So I think that was hard. The other hilarious thing that I did not anticipate was that on the wedding day, aside from the bridal suite stuff, I was working so hard. Like, there was so much to be done that no one was doing that I forgot I was on television. Like, truly, I was like, I remember at one point,
you're like, I'm just working at the wedding now.
Yeah, I'm working. So like, people would come up to me like, Jamie, you need to change. Like, you have to put on a dress now. And I'm like, I have to what? Like, get the fuck out of my way. Like, I have things to do. So it was funny in that way because I'm like, oh, I'm actually very invested and immersed in this, which I do think came through in the show, which I'm happy about. But like, it really was the facts. Like, I mean, there were certain moments where like stuff was really about to fall apart, and I was like, literally, no one else is handling this. Like, I think that they think that I am an actual wedding planner, like the family and stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just like this person who like comes in and like tries to shoulder some of the burden, whatever that may be, but like, I'm not an official anything. So I was kind of thrown into these like positions of authority because I think they just go like, oh, Netflix is here and Jamie's here. So that like, that's fine. So everyone just give her all the things to do because we're just here to hang out. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. And I was there for that reason, but there were definitely some moments where I was like, I almost missed the wedding because I was so focused on like fixing stuff up until the last minute.
And in terms of shooting the actual ceremony, like, does the ceremony from start to finish go as it normally would, or are there reshoots of things? It does.
No.
So you guys just like fly on the wall.
Yes, 100%. We set up pretty early. They get the whole wedding. I mean, they really filmed the entire thing. Even some of the weddings were longer, and they filmed it start to finish. Yeah. Yeah.
The Nigerian wedding was so crazy and cool.
I loved that wedding. I mean,
it was like a performance. It was a performance.
Incredible. No, that was one of the coolest things I've done because they enter dancing and they're dancing like right in front of you. And it's like so emotional. Like Gabrus and I were like teary eyed watching it. It was like, it's the way I think a lot of people sometimes get emotional when they like see a musical or something.
Yes.
Like there's just something like all of your senses are being played to. It's just like music and action and dancing and emotion. And like, it was fully that. I was like, I had chills from like how emotional I felt just watching people dance into a wedding. It was very funny.
I'm someone who tears up at musicals, and I've never quite understood why. You think that's what it is? It's all the senses being engaged at once? It's like just this pure emotion or something. I don't know.
Yes, I'm sure there's like a very quick answer to what it is, but that's what I always attributed it to. I was like, it's just because like everything is being played to right now.
Yeah. You know what won't make you cry? Please note my excellent segue. Bomba socks. They're the best socks ever. They're so comfortable. They'll make you angry at your other socks and angry at all the years you spent wearing anything other than Bombas. Lots of things can make your workouts hard. Extra resistance, double speed speed one more mile. Your socks shouldn't, though. That's why Bombas Performance Socks are built to be nothing but comfortable and supportive. That's what Jamie and I are.
Oh my God.
We're
I'm both
comfortable
of
and
those
supportive
things.
people.
Yeah, just like a pair of socks.
Bombas Performance Socks have taken all the amazing innovations that make Bombas the most comfortable socks you've ever worn and added their special Hex Tech performance technology. They are stitched with special moisture wicking yarn and temperature regulating vents that allow cool air to flow in and prevent overheating. They come with a pillow-like tab to save you from blisters. Stay up technology. That's what my little kids have. A special arch hugging. The arch hugging system is my favorite thing. I swear, slip on a pair of these socks, the way they hug your feet, they're so comfortable. You'll be angry at your other socks. And like all their socks, for every pair of Bombas Performance socks you buy, they donate a pair to someone in need. They've donated over 45 million pairs so far. Go to bombas.com/bestfriend today and get 20% off your first order. That's Bombas, BOMBAS.com/bestfriend for 20% off. Bombas.com/bestfriend. And I also want to tell you guys about BetterHelp. Allison Rosen is your new best friend is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. In May's Mental Health Awareness Month and throughout June, Allison Rosen is your new best friend is proud to join the cause of destigmatizing therapy. I feel like part of my life's goal is to destigmatize therapy. I am such a
huge fan over here.
It's like my it has saved me in many ways.
Yeah,
and
I love it.
BetterHelp is great. I know two people right now, both of them podcasters, both of whom have talked about it on their podcast, who are doing BetterHelp, who are getting so much out of it, who really like their BetterHelp therapist. It can be cheaper than traditional therapy. And especially right now, people are having, it can be hard to find a traditional therapist. Enter BetterHelp. Like I said, more affordable. And also, you can, if you don't feel like you have been matched with the right therapist, you can switch therapists as many times as you want, no additional charge. So you don't have to worry about committing to something that you're unsure of. Try it out, people. Our listeners get 10% off their first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/bestfriend. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/bestfriend. Okay. So, back to the wedding coach. I'm wondering how involved were you in editing, producing, casting, like all the things?
Yeah, as involved as I guess I could be. I mean, the casting, it's interesting with the casting. I definitely watched a bunch of casting videos, but there's so many factors that played into who got chosen. A lot of it had to do with like, what is our production period and does their wedding fall within that? Or is it like one wedding's here, another wedding's next year? Like there were certain weddings that I wanted to attend and I was like, they actually just don't line up with when we're shooting. So that's why we had to rule them out. Another part of it is like background checks. Like there was one couple we were really interested in. And yeah, I mean, it was just, there was some stuff in the bride's past where I was like, legally, like we actually, like, Netflix will not approve them. So that was another thing that I learned. I was like, oh, apparently some of this is like fully out of our control. So it really had to do with like making sure the weddings felt different enough, making sure the problems were clear enough that they needed help with, making sure the problems were not like the same problem in 2 episodes. And yeah, and just also making sure they look different. Like I didn't want to have like 2 sort of like backyardy, DIY type weddings. Like I wanted it to feel like everyone's doing something different. So
I don't know how much you can say about this, but I'm dying to know like what kinds of things would take someone out of the running in their background check.
Well, one person in particular had been married before to someone who was part of a pretty like famous criminal case. Yeah. So like was like accused of lots of terrible things. So
she had been or he had been? Or both?
It was wait, sorry. Did I say sorry, I'm getting confused. It was a dude.
Oh, okay.
It was a dude who was being considered, and his ex-wife was very problematic. For some, she was like part of a pretty like well-known trial, like kind of a big case that like has been in the news and stuff. She was being accused of like lots of terrible things. So so that was like, and it was sad because he's like getting remarried, you know? And so it's like, he's like, no, I'm not associated with that anymore. But it's like, well, actually, like you kind of are, like in terms of what Netflix is willing to, you know, accept as a liability. Like this just, we can't do this. So so they got ruled out. Because of potential litigation, or just people would associate, it would make people think of this? I think it was both. I think it was both. I think it was like they don't want to be associated. They don't want our show to be associated with that at all.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And it's then there was another one. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, they do a ton of true crime, but I get that they want to keep this separated.
But they're like, we don't want this to be a true crime. Yeah.
That makes sense.
And it also was such an interesting story, and it was a bummer because if we had used them, I would have wanted to talk about it. And like, whoa, wow, what a, you know, second time's a charm. Like that first time sounded really rough. So I'd love to hear about it. There was also another one where it was like this hilarious wedding. It was like everything was winter themed, and they were going to have ice dancers and like ice sculptures. And like, it was just super over the top. The girl was like a beauty queen. And then it was like, the parents were like, majorly like drug addict, alcoholic, like so they were like, it's not gonna be great if we like have them on camera and they do something. Like it's just, again, too much of a liability. But these are not my choices. This was like made for me,
right? So
it's just frustrating because I'm like, oh, that would have been like such a fun wedding to see, and then it's like, but their family is like, it's gonna make it tough.
Ice capades, drunk parents.
I know. I'm like, come on. Also, that's it. That was hard for me too, because I'm like, but it's real. Like,
yeah, totally.
This is real. Like, that's the point of the show. And it's funny how like you want to showcase certain things, and then everyone else is like, no, like you think that's what you want to showcase, but it's actually not. And I'm like, okay, like I guess, I had to make some concessions, and obviously I really had no choice in the matter. They were forces above me being like, no.
That's so interesting. I think I would be inclined to be like you, like, but this, weird tangent, but I mean, did you, I know that there were drug problems in your family of origin, right? We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Do you think that was part of why you were like, this is real? Let's show this.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. Yeah. I think also that's something I always kind of bumped on with I love how I say bumped, like with cocaine, but it's something that has always bothered me. Like in watching reality TV, there's always these like hard cuts in editing where I'm like, wait, like you left out a major detail. Like, there's a huge leap in logic. I'm not sure why I'm supposed to suspend belief and not focus on that, but that's all I can think about.
Same.
So I really don't like that. And I was really trying to like not do that with this show.
Sometimes like with Bravo shows, I wonder, is part of the appeal this like nonsensical jumping around thing? It's so elliptical. It's like a riddle for your head.
Yes. What is that? And it's like, it's become so commonplace. Like, oh, these shows are so popular that I think we're just supposed to be like, did you see what happened on Housewives? And it's like, but like none of us really saw what happened because it was edited in such a fucking crazy way. We don't know what the actual story is. We just know this like
someone flew off the handle.
Yeah, someone flew off the handle. Also, they always have these like long pauses, and you're like, that is so clearly done with editing because no one in a conversation just doesn't talk in response to someone being like, you're a fucking bitch. No one just is quiet.
Yeah.
So that's only in reality do you cut to someone just like giving dead eyes to that person. You're like, that's just not, we missed so many things. Like they just all ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yes. I always think
really
about this too.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy reality shows?
It It's not really my go-to. Love is Blind was probably the only one that I watched, like, truly just, like, drooling over how much I loved it. Yeah, I don't really watch them. I watched first season of Queer Eye. When that premiered, I was like, this is amazing. Like, they're doing something with reality TV that I have not seen before. And, like, it made me really curious in trying to pursue the unscripted space, because I was like, I feel like there's an opportunity here that, you know, would be, like, really great if done correctly. And yeah, but I'm not like a big, like, 90 Day Fiance. I do like that show, but I don't just, like, pop on reality TV. I never watch Bravo. Like, yeah, not really. I think in my 20s I watched it more. What about you?
I go in phases. I remember I really got into Celebrity Rehab and Keeping Up with the Kardashians, like way back in the day. In the very, very
Kardashians is so good. It really is such a good show.
I no longer keep up with them, but at the beginning I did. And I would, especially with Celebrity Rehab, I would always marvel at the way I could watch an entire episode and it was like kind of interesting. But then in the last 2 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I have to know what's going to happen next or I will simply die. Like it was just magically edited. So that would have been probably in the early to mid 2000s, I think. Because I remember I had just started my blog. It was at the time it was my blog. Now it has been transformed into my website. But I was writing about those shows on there, and then a little bit Real Housewives of New York.
Same. When that first came on, I was very into it.
I got very into Vanderpump Rules. Did you ever watch that one?
No, I never really watched it.
It's really, I mean, good is a weird, yes, it's really watchable. I really enjoyed that. Then I stopped. Then I got back into that. And then what else? During the pandemic, I got into Below Deck.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I keep hearing about. I feel like people really love Below Deck.
I had heard about it a lot, and I don't know what I thought. I thought it was going to be like Real Housewives on a ship or something, and it's really not. Especially the first season reminds me sort of Road Rules at the beginning. Like, it really is. It's not. It doesn't gin up drama. At the beginning, it didn't. It really is following the experience of these people who work on a chartered yacht. So it is like a whole different world. I really enjoyed that.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I feel like I saw like one episode of that, and I remember being like, "Oh, I could get into this."
Yeah,
especially because that's a world that I just don't know anything about yachts or yacht culture. Yacht staff. Like, I think it'd be kind of cool to have a window into that world a little bit.
Same. I liked that too. It was like, it wasn't just people hanging out being bitchy.
Right.
Oh, speaking of, I also enjoy The Hills.
Sure.
But it was like watching people actually have a skill. And like the chef is very, very funny, and the chef changes, but at the beginning. But speaking of really good TV shows and TV shows that I watched during the pandemic, Ted Lasso.
Oh, yay!
You're a writer on.
I am.
What has that been like? And are you guys working on the next season?
Right now we are shooting the second season, so we've written the second season, and it's almost done shooting. I think that we go back for the third season in August is what I'm being told. It's been amazing. I mean, that first season when we were writing it, it was like the best job I had ever had. I mean, it really was like the best group of people. Bill Lawrence is such an excellent boss, and like, I'm just so in awe of the way he conducts a room, and he just keeps the morale really high, and he just makes everyone treat each other like adults, and like, it's just a really like healthy place to work. Which I feel like, it's funny. I've heard of these shows that people love, and then you hear like, oh, wow, it's shocking that it turned out so great considering like the whole staff fucking hates each other. You hear these stories. But I feel like because we enjoyed each other so much, I do think that is why the first season is successful in the way it is. Like, I think that some of that came through because it really was like lightning in a bottle. Everyone really respects each other and like gets along.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah. So I'm curious what the second season will look like because we wrote it on Zoom. That's just a different just different. But it's not writing the first season on Zoom. I think that's a lot harder when you like don't really know what your show is yet and you have to do it over the computer. I think that's hard. But
the one that I think of when you mention a show where it's like, it's amazing it turned out that well because it was a toxic culture. And I don't think I'm telling stories out of school because
probably not.
I think I've heard this.
Sure.
Community.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one. Community, Modern Family. Yeah. Yeah. Those are the two I think of the most.
Have you ever been in that kind of environment?
I have definitely been in environments that were toxic that I did not realize at the time exactly how toxic they were, because honestly, Ted Lasso set the bar really high for me now. I'm like, it is possible to like be in a healthy writer's room. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, definitely moments where I was like, just like sort of classic things that come up for a lot of female writers. Like, you know, if I am loud, my voice gets really high and then people don't want to listen to you because that doesn't sound good. You know, it's like stuff like that where you get talked over because you're like not as loud as the men in the room. Like just physically, you can't do that with your voice. So there's that, or like you're the only woman in the room. You know, there's not enough diversity. There's stuff like that I've definitely encountered. And at the time I hated it. And looking back, I hate it even more. So
yeah.
How
did you get the Ted Lasso job? How did that come about?
I had auditioned for Bill Lawrence for a pilot and I tested for it, didn't get it, but stayed friends with him. And then he pulled me in to meet with Jason when they were interviewing writers. And I went in kind of like, I definitely was like excited to be meeting on it, but I didn't know anything about Apple at the time. This was like, I think maybe the morning show was on. Maybe the morning show hadn't even premiered yet. So I was just a little like, I don't really know what Apple is. I don't know if it's like cool or like people are going to have it on their TVs. Like, I just don't know if it's anything. And the other part was just, I don't care about sports and I am not a sports person. And if you're hiring me for that reason, like you're going to be gravely disappointed. And so that was kind of my angle when I went in, was like, I just have to be honest with you. Like, I don't know anything about soccer. I actually really like soccer. Like, if I had to watch a sport, it's one of the ones I can get into. I'm not really sure why that is, because I don't really like basketball and other team sports, but there's something about soccer that I've always enjoyed. So yeah, but I was just like, I'll help with like interpersonal relationships. And I'm definitely like the rom-com girl. I can really like lean into that, developing those relationships and the female characters and stuff. But I won't be able to add any value on the soccer front. And then they were like, oh, don't worry. We have like 2 people on staff who know everything you need to know about soccer. And I was like, well, great. And then I didn't hear anything for a while. And then I found out I was getting an offer and I was like, okay, cool. Like I thought that Bill was so awesome. I thought Jason was so awesome, but I really knew nothing about the project. Like I kind of just went in being like, this could be fun. And then it ended up being such a great job that I almost didn't care if the show was going to be good. I was like, this is just such a healthy working environment that I love coming to work every day. Like it's so rare to feel that way. And yeah. And then it ended up being this like huge success. And that's just very surprising to me. Like you don't know that when you're making it. Like,
right.
I mean, maybe there are shows where people are like, we're on to something, guys. Like, I don't know how you can have that kind of confidence that early before anything's aired. So
you auditioned for Bill Lawrence as an actor, though, right?
As an actor.
But then he brought you in as a writer.
As a writer.
So how did he, that's so cool that he knew that that you're a writer as well. Yes. Yeah.
He knew because he knew I wrote on Crashing and acted on Crashing. And so he just brought me in. He was like, I think he also knew my stand-up a little bit. So I think he was just kind of like, I know he really loves stand-up. So I think he was really supportive in that way. And that's not true. Not all a lot of the writers on staff are performers as well. So he seems to understand that and foster that. I'm sure there are people who don't want to hire writer performers because they're like, ugh, like, are they going to try to get on the show? Like, that kind of thing. But yeah, he's definitely very understanding of like people having multiple passions within sort of like the comedy umbrella.
Oh, that's really cool. You know what else I'm passionate about?
What?
Having a really healthy, good-looking lawn, Jamie.
Oh, that's okay. I love that segue.
Look, the last
Let's
thing
talk
anyone
about lawns, people.
the last thing anyone needs is another complicated or toxic lawn product. Sunday is more than just a lawn care product. It is a custom lawn care plan with a variety of ways to help you grow a beautiful lawn, control weeds, and remove pests. They take out all the guesswork and unwanted chemicals so you can grow a beautiful lawn that's better for people, pets, and the planet. Jamie, you're in New York, so I know this doesn't quite apply to you there, but it might apply to you in Los Angeles. You go on their website, you type in your address, they pull up like where you are, what your soil is like, and they're dialed in, they know, but then you send them a soil sample. I don't own a shovel. I'm not a handy gardening person, even though Sunday makes it look like I am. So I took a tablespoon, put the soil in a bag, sent it back to them. They sent me all the stuff I need. Again, I'm not I don't have
it's
a
like
green
23 in soil.
Yes, it really is. I know who my lawn's relatives are. No, but so anyway, you just hook it
Turns
onto
out
your
my
hose.
lawn is Jewish. No.
You hook it onto your hose, spray the stuff. It's so easy. I can do it, and then your lawn looks beautiful. It's so great. Let Sunday take the guesswork out of growing a greener, more beautiful lawn this spring. Visit getsunday.com/Allison to get $20 off your custom lawn plan at checkout. That's $20 off your custom plan at getsunday.com/Allison. Again, that's getsunday.com/Allison. Okay. I think now would be a time to tell you guys that I'm on Patreon, patreon.com/Allison Rosen. Weekly bonus episodes, Zoom parties. There's a level where there's a new reward I've introduced where you can text me and I will text you. We can be texting buddies. And I've been doing it for a couple weeks now. It is super fun. I hope everyone who is at that level is enjoying it as well. I think they are. The feedback I'm getting is pretty good. Patreon.com/Allison Rosen. And if you want a deal, you can sign up for an annual subscription. You get 12 months for the price of 10, so 2 months free. Okay, I think we should do Just Me or Everyone.
Love it.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
All right, Jamie, you said you had to Just Me or Everyone, right?
Yes. Okay, here is my, is it me or is it just is it just me or is it everyone? Great. Okay, I know how to play. Is it just me or is it normal to like have a running list of very strange baby names even though I don't have kids, but I'm like obsessed with coming up with what I would name my children?
I think that's not just you.
Yeah.
I think that's not just you. I always had tons of names. And then when it came time to actually my problem was I always had girl names. I always gravitated.
I only have that. I have girl names, but a lot of my girl names are gender neutral, but I do only have girl names.
Okay.
I don't, no offense to boys, but yeah, I'm not.
I mean, I'm just telling you.
I don't have those names.
I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in anything. But if you do that, you're telling the universe you're just going to have a boy. Yeah, because I have two boys, never got to use my girl names.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's just you, but I don't know. Okay. Tony, do you do this?
I don't do that.
Okay. Well,
I mean, it's a thing that's crossed my mind here and there. Like maybe it, but yeah, I wouldn't say I keep a list or anything like that. But I've definitely heard of people doing that.
I love like I want my kid to have the weirdest name. Like, you know how people always made fun of like Gwyneth Paltrow for naming her kid Apple? I was like, oh, I'm like, I live for it. I live for Apple. I live for Moses. I live for Blue Ivy. Like, I love coming up with like crazy baby names. So, or whatever that, I don't know if they're crazy, but unusual. Baby names. So you're going through with you're going to give them a name that no one has ever heard of. Oh yeah. No, it's going to be weird. Yeah. I'm not really sure where it comes from. I just have this, you know what I think it is? It's because Jamie Lee is actually a very common name. Mm-hmm. I've been told that my whole life. So I think there's part of me that's like, I'm going to come up with a name that is like so Googleable. Like this kid, like you don't have to type in like the first 3 letters of their name and they're going to come up. Like it's
An iconic name.
Iconic. Yeah.
I like iconic
That's
could
what
be a name.
it honestly could.
What I was always surprised about is that I would hear of a name, like the first time I thought of it, I was like, nah. And this is years before I had kids.
Sure.
Like the name Olivia. And I was like, Then I'm like, wait. It's sort of like I did a double take to the name. Like, wait a minute. I actually really like that name. And then just like bubbled up to the top of my list.
Sure.
And I think for people who had kids around when I did, that name is one of the most popular.
Oh yeah.
So you think, or like Evelyn. It's like Evelyn or Eve. I really
love
like
that
Ava.
name.
I like those names.
Love and Evelyn.
Yeah, it's very popular. Eleanor is very popular.
Yep, that was my grandmother's name.
Yes, all these names. This is how much none of us are unique, except for your child, who's going to be just a force to reckon with. But that's how.
Yeah.
I think that's how much we're all like, in the same cultural moment. Is this a name that strikes us as unusual, rare, and beautiful? Like everyone thinks that. You can't escape it. It's weird.
I know. That's why I'm trying to get ahead of it. I'm doing all my due diligence to make sure that I'm actually picking names that like are not popular.
That's smart.
That's what I'm on to right now.
I think if you did like a Jennifer, Kathy,
that would be
Marcy, then you're unique because those are yesteryear names.
Yes, totally. Yeah, if my kid was just named like Sarah, they'd be like, "Whoa." Mic drop.
Do you want to have kids?
I think so. I think I do. I don't know, but I get nervous because I feel like my answer being "I think so" is like kind of troubling. Like I feel like they're the fuck yes people, and I am like a little concerned that I'm not that. I'm definitely really nervous about it. I really like being able to have like a flexible schedule, and like not that my schedule's flexible at all, but I like being able to like figure it out based on what I need to do. And I just get nervous that if I have a kid, I'm going to end up like having to cancel a bunch of shit, and like it's just going to get really. But then also you want to do that. That's what I have to remind myself is like, yes, that's because like your priorities are changing in a good way. Like it's not a bad I think that's just the stuff that I, as a person without kids, I get really nervous about what that actually is going to look like, and I'm going to be like bad at it or something.
I don't think you will be.
Did you feel like did you know you wanted kids like forever?
Yes, but it wasn't this like, oh, my biological clock is ticking. I never felt it tick. I never felt this yearning that you hear about.
Never.
I just always knew that I would like to be a mom someday. I would like children to be part of what my life looks like eventually. Like that yes.
I have to ask, I have a follow-up question to this. Do you feel like meeting your husband and being in love with your husband, you were like, oh, I would want to have kids with him? Like he makes it feel more real.
Yes. Well, I think for him meeting me, because he was a little bit on the fence before. He thought at one point in his life he didn't want kids at all. And then he had a health scare and like came out of that feeling like, oh, I think I do want to have kids. And then meeting me, he said that he could see it. He felt that I would be a good mom and like he would want to bring kids in the world with me. For me, I always knew I wanted to have kids, but I was never with someone where I felt like, yeah, this makes sense. But then with him, it just, everything fell into place. But I think that I labored under this idea that I want to accomplish a certain amount. I want to get to a certain place in my career. I want everything to be lined up before I have kids. And then I have heard people say, like, just do it because it's never going to be the right time. Not to me personally, but that's just their advice in general.
No, I've heard that. Yeah.
And I got to a point where just biologically, if I'm going to do it, it's got to be now.
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't, like I said, I never really felt the biological clock tick in this way of like, oh my God, it's time. Like my bosom is ready for a baby to be honored or anything like that. It wasn't like that. It was just, I want to get pregnant. And then, we did IVF, So once I was invested in that process, then I like needed it to work. But that was less about having a kid than like this thing that has been such a huge expense and so taxing. Like, please let this work.
It makes you inherently more invested in it because
Right.
you're like, I have actually like put time and effort
Yes.
and like
It's
blood,
like-
sweat, and tears literally
Yeah.
into this. Yeah.
That being said, I'm so happy that I had my kids though. And like just today I was thinking it's really like one of my favorite things that I've done and like my favorite facets of my life is being their mom.
Oh, wow.
You know, even though I didn't have the feelings that I thought I needed to have beforehand, it all has worked out on this end. I never wish I didn't have kids. Sometimes
love
I'm
that.
exhausted, but
Yeah. But then you're like, but it's for this thing that I really care about.
yeah.
Or do you not feel that way, like actively? Is that like a feeling that you have after the fact, or you have those moments where you're like, this is hard, but it's worth it?
I feel like this is hard, but I love them.
Yeah.
And my God, Daniel, can you please like take over because I need to go take a nap because I'm losing my mind. Like I do not do well with not enough sleep. I think
Me neither. That's my main fear. I'm
Yeah.
like a big sleep. I like, yeah, that's another thing. It's just like freedom. I'm like, I like knowing when I need to go to sleep and making it happen. Like, you know, I'm just nervous about like transitioning from like self-focused Jamie to like,
Right.
it's not just about you anymore, Jamie.
And I think that the initial adjustment is hard. I was like, how, again, sort of like a wedding. Like, how did no one warn me that even though people had warned me, like I just
Of course they had.
didn't. I remember when we had a puppy thinking like, this has got to be harder than having a baby because with a baby, they can't really move around, but a puppy is mobile. I mean, I could not have been, I eat my words. Because with a puppy, it's not like every hour or every couple hours that you're up. That being said, you know, if you have childcare who can help you out, that makes a huge. We didn't for a
does.
while at the beginning, but that
Okay.
makes a huge difference because all of a sudden you can take a nap and you can take a shower and all these things that you hadn't
Good
figured
to
out
know.
how to do beforehand. So yeah, just
Good to
get
know.
like family
Okay.
or get a babysitter or something like that, and
Gonna
you'll
get
be
a great
fine.
nanny. Yeah. I joked that I joked that I was like when I have a baby, and then I was like, sorry, when Skylar has a baby, because that's my assistant. And I could see we just literally it comes out of my vagina and like, here, can you go handle this? It's not funny. It's terrible.
I think it's funny. I think
Thank
it's
you.
funny.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think you're good. I heard that also you have a hey go fuck yourself.
I do. Okay. People who are like obsessed with going back to work in person and like being like, oh, I can't wait to not be on Zoom. Listen, I get it. Like Zoom is exhausting and it sucks to like sit at a computer and stare at a screen and like, yeah, you don't get to like give people hugs or whatever the fuck. No, like people who want to go back to work on Zoom, please go fuck yourselves because it is giving us so much freedom. We don't have to be stuck in traffic. Like, yeah, there is just so much beauty in like rolling out of bed and then like quote unquote going to work, just being turning on your laptop. Like, let us not forget the freedom that comes with that. So, hey, people who are eager to get back to work in person, go fuck yourselves. Okay?
Hey, go fuck yourself.
We did it. Tony, did you feel personally called out?
Sure did.
I get it.
I mean, yeah, I live alone too, so it's like
Yeah.
it's just me here. So I'm.
I
dying
understand.
for,
And
yes.
also, I do understand. I get it. I'm just like, yeah, I'm living in New York right now, and everyone's like, you're going to have to go back to LA. Fine. I love LA. I have lots of friends there. I'm just like, oh, I just don't want to like, I don't want to have to like move for work. I would love to just work where I want to work.
Yeah, and I get that side too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not where I'm at.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel you.
I just agreed to to be a guest on a podcast in person.
Ooh.
Like the first time, this is my first time being a guest on a podcast in person in, this entire time. I think they're just getting back to the studio. And I
think you and I both. I think we both were asked to do the same.
oh yeah, probably. And I'm like, oh man, what am I going to wear? Like, I barely have clothes to wear outside. I mean, I have them, but I just haven't put them on in so long.
No, I know what you mean.
You know, I've pretty much just been relying on being presentable from like, you know.
Yeah, the
neck
collarbone up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
same.
as someone who has a problematic derriere, actually my butt's fine. It's the thigh. It's someone I'm pear-shaped. So I have kind of enjoyed just having the top of the pear be the focus.
No, but the bottom of the pear is the tastiest part of the pear.
You're right. It's the juiciest down there.
No one wants the stem.
Speaking of all of body stuff, I have to say, I was re-listening to our most recent episode, and the fact that was it your grandma and your aunt?
Oh, yeah.
Like
the three-way
called-
conversation.
Yeah, did a three-way conversation when you were in high school to ask you what was up with all the weight you were gaining.
Yep.
Like, I wanted to fucking die listening to that, and then like listening to that was the reaction I had on the episode as well. I feel so bad for you. That's so cruel.
Yeah. It was so cruel. Yeah. But, you know, I will say, like, I have gotten to a place, and I don't know if it's just trying to convince myself of this or if I actually feel this way, but I really, like, don't diet anymore. And I definitely still have the thoughts of, like, you should be dieting. You should be dieting. Why aren't you dieting? But I really don't. And I'm, like, I hope it sticks. Like, I hope that
How did you achieve that?
I think I just hit a point where, well, I think it's a couple things. I think that, like, Lena Dunham and Girls, I think that helped, just being like, oh, it's a female lead who doesn't look like every other female lead.
Yeah.
That's good. Like, we have some body diversity here. I think part of it is in Instagram, like some of the body positivity stuff or whatever you're supposed to call it. It's not body positivity. It's called body acceptance. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I know.
Oh, I thought it was body positive.
It is, but then someone was telling me that is not the right term for it, or it is, but it's not. Anyway, I think it's called like body confidence, maybe.
Okay.
Body confidence movement. Anyways, whatever. I basically, I think some of that has helped. I also think that like I'm really active. I work out a lot and I really enjoy working out. So I'm kind of like, I just want to work out and eat what I want. And that feels like a balanced lifestyle to me. I think I'm too old to think about food all the time. Mm-hmm. Like I want to free up some of my brain space for other things, and I just really need that one to get out of there. Like I want to be thinking of other things. So it's definitely an effort. It's not effortless, but yeah, I'm like, I went out and had pizza last night and drank, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. Like this is what I should be doing. Like I don't know. You only live once. Like I don't do that every night. I know you're supposed to have like balanced everything, but I do. But I want to be able to like, especially in New York City, go out and like enjoy myself. Like it's really important to me.
Right.
So
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think age does play a role. When I lived in New York, I used to do this segment on Channel 4 in the mornings called Best Bets, where it was go on the news and talk about events happening in the city for Time Out New York. And so it was at like 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And so from midday Friday to 6 a.m. or to when I was done, I would eat nothing.
Oh, wow.
And I did it every Friday. Like you're going to notice like, oh, she doesn't have a sandwich. I mean, it's insane.
I have that. Anytime I film something, I'm like, oh, I got to gear up. It's like one day before, Jamie. What do you think? What are you talking about?
I don't think in the same way that I can't take a red eye anymore. And I mean, I could, but I don't want to. Like, I don't think I could do that anymore.
No, I think it's also making that choice to just honor yourself and be like, I'm not a red eye person.
Yeah.
Sure. We could all do, but no, I don't. I feel the same way. There's certain things that like happened in my 20s and I'm now triggered by them in my 30s. And I'm like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. All right. And then lastly, we have a couple questions that listeners have sent in on Patreon.
Cool.
When we ask, they send them in. They're wondering how you have been. So thanks so much for answering these questions from our fans.
Okay. Whitney C says, what's a memorable concert or show you've attended?
Oh, I love that question. A memorable concert or show. I mean, probably the most memorable for me was when I was in high school, I went to see this band called Rocket from the Crypt. And the venue that I was at, it was actually my parents' venue. They had a problem with, because my parents were in the music business, they had a problem with their dance hall license. And so one of the people who worked at the club came out on stage in front of like the whole crowd and was like, the band is going to come on. You cannot move. Like, you have to just stand there because we have a problem with our dance hall license. And if you literally move your body like you are dancing, you will be thrown out. And I was like, this is a joke, right? And then no, like the band came out and we just had to like stand there like pencils, like just straight. Don't like tap your foot to the beat. Don't move. Like, you just have to watch the show. And
That's
it was
so weird.
So insane. Yeah, it was insane. So
Was it
that very
miserable?
memorable. The band was so good that, yeah, I mean, you feel like blue balled. You're like, this is crazy. Who's not going to move to these guys? Like, they weren't like fucking Kenny G. They were like a blast. So, yeah, it was just really annoying. Anyway.
So funny. Wow.
Yeah.
And then Alyssa Van Dyke says, I'm currently obsessed with Crashing, and I've loved Jamie for about a decade now. A lot of feedback like that. You have a lot of fans among my people.
Oh, wow.
Does she prefer stand-up or acting? And does she prefer writing or performing?
Oof, God. I think my very favorite thing in the world is, like, my dream is to act in the thing I wrote. Mm-hmm. That feels like that's like my happy place would be that. But I think stand-up is kind of in its own category. Like, I'll never not love stand-up. I don't think there's any other type of comedy that like really touches stand-up in that way. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but that's how I feel.
Have you missed it this past year?
Not really. I know that's fucked up to say. I miss parts of it. I do miss, the thing with stand-up is like stand-up begets stand-up. So if you aren't doing it, it's very easy to just be like, I don't do that right now. Mm-hmm. But then once you start doing it again, you're like, how did I ever not do this? And I miss the social element of it. I also miss like working on jokes and thinking in those terms. But I think for the most part, it freed up some time to think about other things that I wanted to do still within comedy. So there's, I think that I sort of learned that about myself during the pandemic. Like, I really like trying to like, I just like want to make a TV show and get it made, hopefully. So those are the things that I'm like, I'm interested in. And I wrote a movie I'm trying to get made. Like, there's stuff like that. So I'm like, I think that this has sort of allowed me to think about some of that stuff in a real way, because there was no alternative. It was like, that was all you could really think about.
Are you disciplined as a writer? Like, I mean, or rather what I mean to say is like, do you write at the same time every day? Do you have a structure?
No. I have very little structure, but I just get it done. The thing that's cool about living in New York right now is that LA doesn't open until 1 p.m. New York time. Mm-hmm. So I can really use my mornings to like dick around real hard, go on walks, maybe go to the gym for a little bit, drink a coffee. Like, I can just kind of like ease into my day. And then like 1 to like 8 p.m. I feel like is like the window
zone
where it's like everyone's up. You know, and I kind of like that. It's almost like you get 2 days in one day, which has been really nice.
Is New York unsafe feeling? I had Mark Norman on the show a while ago. He was saying that it was really rough. It had gotten really rough in the pandemic. And I was surprised
in the pandemic, yes.
That's what I mean,
Now it was really bad at first. Now it's like great.
I can't even envision that because, you know, I lived there for many years and it was safe the whole time I was there. And so, of course, I heard stories of how it used to be, but I never experienced it being rough. Like, what was it like?
Well, I wasn't here for like the March, April.
Okay.
That like the onset of the pandemic. I got here in December, so the end of 2020. So I don't know. I feel like it was better here than it was in LA because it really surged in LA.
Yeah.
Corona. But yeah, I don't know. Now it's like everyone's kind of like out in the streets rejoicing like everyone's in a musical. So I'm loving it. And the weather got really nice. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, tell New York I say hi. I miss it so much.
I will. I'll tell them you say what up.
I want to remind you guys that I am an Amazon. You might not know it because I like to play it cool, but I'm an Amazon influencer. I have an Amazon store. You can shop my podcasting gear, my makeup, my skincare stuff for the home. I've got a corner, Daniel's Corner, where I put items that he uses in it that are embarrassing, but he does use them. Beano, saline spray, Breathe Right strips. I got stuff, I've got my recommendations for kids. And to get to there, to peruse that, go to amazon.com/shop/Allison Rosen. Again, amazon.com/shop/Allison Rosen. And if you like what you're hearing, please make sure to subscribe, follow, leave a nice comment, tell your friends, etc. And follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know scheduling this is a little hard, so thank you so much for making time to do this.
Thank you guys for being so nice and accommodating to make it happen. I love this show, so it's great to see you both.
Thank you. Tell everyone where they can find you. Plug anything you'd like to plug.
Yeah. Well, I have a show on Netflix called The Wedding Coach. It is available right now. All 6 episodes are up on Netflix. Wherever you live in the world, you can access it. And you can follow me on Instagram at ReallyJamieLee and on Twitter at TheJamieLee.
Wonderful. Tony?
Twitter and Instagram at Tony Thaxton. My podcast, Bizarre Albums, every Tuesday. And the Motion City Soundtrack Tour tickets are now on sale for 2022. So come on out and see us. Let's see if fingers crossed that they actually happen.
That's right. The tour that is taking Tony away from me, but that's okay.
Just for a little bit.
I know.
Just for a little bit.
It's just temporary. Thank you so much, Jamie. Listeners, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go.